2024 was the year that I turned my goals into a reality, and I'm going to show you guys how to do the same for 2025. My name is Xavier. I go by the name Internet X, and I'm a 24-year-old stylist and creative producer. 3 of the goals that I'm going to go over today is 1, traveling to London for the first time for Fashion Week with a client. Second one is working with a big male star. And then the last thing was being able to work with Hypebeast. So I'm gonna go over how I got all these 3 things turned from a goal into a reality. And I'm also gonna show you guys how you can do it, because it isn't just about my story, it's also about the tips and the lessons that you can take from my story to use into your own personal journey. So this past year, I wrote down a couple goals that I wanted to accomplish, and one of the first things that I wanted to do was travel to London for Fashion Week. Now, this is really important to me because I had already been doing a lot of different types of work in London. So I was really familiar with the market, so I really wanted to experience the actual Fashion Week out there. So the way I did this was I approached a client that I had already been working with just a little bit before then, and I knew that that client had done previous Fashion Weeks before. And I said, hey, are you going to be doing Fashion Week this year? If you are, I would love to work with you. They eventually came back to me about 2 weeks later and let me know that they were going to be doing Fashion Week and they wanted to bring me on board as a stylist. That was how I kind of started the relationship. So I used my resources to get them invited to other shows in New York, and we had kind of packed their schedule for New York. So midway through New York, I said, hey, we're doing a lot here. You know, I think it'll be really good to test out other markets. Let me know if you'd be interested to do London Fashion Week. And they were like, hey, this actually like coordinates with my birthday and I wanted to be out of the country for my birthday. They said, like, if you can get me 3 or 2 shows in London, then we'll do it, we'll go. I got them we did at least 4 shows. Because of that, I ended up getting one of my goals, which was to go to London for Fashion Week. One of the really important lessons in this story is leveraging opportunity and relationships. I had already been working with a client in London, so I knew that when it came to somebody else, I was able to get them into shows already. Another lesson is to not be afraid to ask for more once you've already proven yourself. I had already gotten my client into shows in New York. We had already created a couple new relationships. So I showed them that I knew what I was doing and that I could do the same thing for them overseas, which I did. Now, one of the goals that I had this year was that I really wanted to work with a big male artist. I found myself working with a lot of females, and I love women, but I wanted to break into male styling and like male artist styling. So the first thing that I did was honestly look for proximity. Like, who do I know that would make sense? A photographer that I worked with, his best friend was Cash Cobain's DJ. So I initially reached out to him and I said, hey, I would love to do Fashion Week. I love to use opportunities as like a way to build a relationship. I can show you what I can do for you, and then we can build that relationship. So actually the friend ended up like kind of giving me the runaround. So what I did was I knew a few people who had worked at some brands. So I just reached out and did like a general like, hey, would you guys invite this client to a show? So I had already been working with this brand and they had came back to me and said, hey, we're actually interested in having him as a music director for the show. So now I have an opportunity, right? So I start seeing who I have mutuals with Cash, and I found a few people and I messaged them all. One person in particular was able to direct me to his manager. I sent their team a message and they got back like within 24 hours and was like, yes. I ended up connecting the brand with Cash and we ended up doing that, and that was like the way that I introduced myself to the team. One lesson that's super important here is the fact that I was bringing value. A lot of times people want something, but they don't know what they can contribute to the thing that they want. Somebody like Cash, he probably has a lot of people who would want to style him, but what can you do that's going to make you different? And for me, that was bringing you an opportunity. So that then turned into a relationship where I was working with Cash a lot, doing different styling for music videos, doing styling for press shoots. Another super important lesson in this whole story is to not take no for an answer. You saw how the first person that I had reached out to, they were like, oh, I don't know if I can necessarily connect you. The first answer is not the end all be all, and that's what I took. I didn't take a no, I took it as a not in this way. It's gonna happen in a different way. And it's also a lesson that persistence pays off. I knew that there was some way that I wanted to work with this person, and I knew that I was gonna make it happen one way or another. That was how I achieved that second goal. And then those are some of the lessons that you guys can take away from it. Okay, the third thing that I achieved on my goal list this year was working with Hypebeast. I had created a video series because I literally want to and still want to do more work in the journalism world, in the broadcast journalism space when it comes to entertainment and fashions. Complex and Hypebeast and High Snobiety, those brands are like the biggest contributors to that space. So I knew that those were the kind of brands that I wanted to work with. I won't lie, I didn't think that from the first thing that I did that I was ready to overtly reach out to them and tell them about my project and stuff. The director of my show was also an intern at Hypebeast and Hype Bay. There came up a conversation at Hypebeast of needing talent for this project that they were working on, and it had to be a very specific type of talent. It had to be somebody who like was not only a creative but handled all the business of their creative and handled the finances and handled like the production and all the aspects of their creative endeavors. And she was just in the conversation and said, hey, I actually know somebody. He has this series, he's a stylist, he does all these things, and like he is the person who's doing it. And there was a lot of different things that mixed into that, making that moment happen. It wasn't like something that I had saw for myself at the time. I thought that I still had a lot of work to do, but never doubt yourself, because things will happen the way that they're supposed to happen. One of the biggest takeaways for me in that lesson was to continue to make work that aligns with your goals. You may not necessarily be like making the height of the work that you want to be making, but as long as you're making something that aligns with what you want to do, that bigger work, that place that you want to be, that goal that you have, that bigger like vision of yourself that you see, is one, not only going to manifest itself, but two, it's going to build its way up there. Because if you start somewhere, you can only go bigger and better. Like there's no way that you're going to get worse at something. You can only get better. If you're working towards something, when that opportunity that you want really comes, you're going to be so much more prepared for it. It was crazy because I said I was doubting myself because I felt like I wasn't at the position, but I was really always doing the work. So that's an interesting one, because it's a lesson, but it's a lesson that I'm almost learning myself in this very moment as well, because that's a goal that's like I did it, but because it wasn't something that I had went and go pitched myself for, I took a little bit less credit for it because I didn't bring it in, but I did bring it in because I was putting in the work. Like I was just aligning myself with these opportunities. The key takeaway of how to achieve your goals is, one, building and nurturing relationships. It's super important to make sure that you always know the right people to be able to like accomplish the right thing. It's honestly the base ground for a lot of the goals that I achieved. The first one, where I was went to Fashion Week, I was able to do that because of a relationship that I had built and nurtured with a client that I had kind of just started working with at the time. And the same thing with working with Cash Cobain. There were relationships that I had nurtured with people who were able to point me in the right direction. The brand wanting to book Cash as the music director, that came through as a direct text because I'm like just kind of close with the brand. I had nurtured a relationship to that point. The second one is be resourceful and persistent, especially when it comes to the Cash story that I told you. Like not taking no for an answer is super important, but also being resourceful, like understanding that you have to create value, you have to like bring something to the table. The third lesson is to position yourself for success. When it comes to working with Hypebeast, that was a specific example of me positioning myself for success. I had already been putting in the work. Sometimes it's as simple as just taking out your phone and starting recording a video. If it's not on the camera you want, it's okay. Talent and work ethic shines through. That's all that matters. And also just making sure that that work aligns with what you want to do. You know, like make sure that you're not just pointlessly recording videos or pointlessly like doing things, like you're doing it intentionally for the moment that you want. And the last takeaway is to seize the moment. Do not be afraid to pitch yourself for things, to put yourself out there, to say, hey, I think that I am the person for this, to say, hey, I think that you guys should do this, and I think that I should be the person to do this for you. Like, do not be afraid to put yourself in positions that you know that you are ready for. As long as you know that you are ready for those opportunities and the things that will come off of the result of you like pitching yourself and putting yourself out there, don't be afraid to do it, because a lot of the things will come from you telling people that you can do exactly what you can do. So in conclusion, I want to remind you guys that, one, accomplishing goals takes time. It's definitely not going to happen overnight. It's never like something that you can kind of plan out, but just know that if you're putting in the work, it's not going to go unnoticed. It's not gonna like, you're not doing it for no reason. It's gonna come around the exact way that you want it to come around. May not be on that exact timing that you want, but it's gonna come around the way that you want it to come around. Trust me on that. Going into the new year, be sure to reflect on your goals and make sure that they're clear, they're concise, that they line up with exactly where you want to be and what you want to do. And also make sure that you guys also have a plan for how you're gonna accomplish those goals. It's one thing to have a goal, but it's another thing to build a plan of action. And just know that if I can do it, so can you. I'm no different from anybody else. I'm somebody who just has ideas and knows that I want certain things to happen in my life, and I'm just actionable about making them happen. So if I can do it, so can you. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe. Actually, I want you guys to share your goals down below in the comments so we can all hold each other accountable. I'll share some of my goals for 2025 in the comments below as well. And yeah, make 2025 the year that you make it happen, you guys. You got it. I believe in you. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great year, guys.